Welcome back everyone to the channel. In today's video, we're going to be getting started with a small series where we're going to be creating a template that already exists from scratch. So in today's episode, we're going to be creating a new template by going to create new template or create new game. We're going to create a blank template. And just for reference, we're going to be creating the hunt and gather template. So we're going to start from blank though. So let's do that. And here, blank template, I'll just say a blank template. We can say this game is amazing. And I'll hit Y2 for YouTube. We'll create and then wait. All right, once we're in our game, we can see that we have 3 initial scripts and we even have a homie script. We can close this and we can see our initial script or our initial game here is our top-down player. Now, the first thing we might notice is that the edges here are a little like jagged, and that is because in our editor configuration, in our rendering here, we have 3JS, and it's kind of a 3D model as for the render. And we also have a rendering filter as smooth. For the shadow quality is just simple. You can change that if you'd like, but I'm going to leave this on simple. I'm going to leave this on smooth unless we want to add our own pixel art. Now here you could change this to 2D if you'd like, but I'm going to leave mine on 3D because I don't mind this. I'm going to close this. Now, once we've done that, we have many things that we can do, but the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to create a new item, specifically a weapon. So why don't we go to the Items tab, hit New Item, and we're going to create a melee weapon. I'm going to change this cell sheet, and you can pick whichever one you want, maybe a sword or a log or a knife. I might pick a bronze sword for this example. Originally, in the other template, we use an axe, but here I'm going to use a wooden sword. I'm going to name it to wooden sword, and that is all we need for now. So let's hit save and apply. Now you can see that my player doesn't start with it, even if I hit play. And in now, what I can do in my homie, I can go to the default items and select the wooden sword to have my homie start with a wooden sword. We can hit play. You can see he doesn't have anything selected. So what we'll do is we'll just publish, save and republish. All right, once we've done that, you can now see my homie starts with a sword. But when I click, it doesn't do anything. So what we need to now do is go to our wooden sword that we just made, and we can take a look at some settings. Now, one of the first things we can take a look at is in the Weapons tab, you can see that the damage, the unit attributes, it does 10 health. This means when I hit something, it will take 10 health from that unit. Now, we can kind of leave that. That's okay for now. But later on, once we start making stronger weapons, we might want to change that number. So let's head over to the Controls tab and take a look at what we have. Now here we have a few different settings that I would encourage you to read on your own. But essentially, these kind of just let us control the item in certain ways. So an example is here we can flip the sprite horizontally. We can rotate the mouse to face the mouse cursor. Now in our game, because it's a top-down game, these settings are good. We don't need to change anything. Now what we'll do is we'll go to the bonus and take a look here. We have a few things that you might want to take a look at. But lastly, we want to go to the effects. Now in the effects, this is where we can see on the bottom, we have an on use kind of section. This is where things happen when I actually use my weapon. Now, one thing that we could add here is in the tween, we can add an animation. Now think of tween as a sort of animation for the weapon. Tween is essentially taking 2 things or 2 positions and kind of animating it between those 2. So in our case, we can either do a swing, we can do a recoil, a poke. So some of these are a little obvious in a sense. So swing would essentially swing our weapon. Poke would actually poke our weapon. And I would encourage you to just try the rest. But here for us, we're going to try the swing CCW. We'll hit save, we'll hit play, and now you can see my weapon rotates, or swings, I suppose. And there we go. There's our weapon. Now we want this weapon to be tested. We want it to work, do something. So to do this, what we can do is head over to the Units tab and create a new unit. We're going to create essentially a AI. we're going to create a top-down unit here. We're going to name this pig. We're going to create a pig AI. Here for the style sheet, we're going to search into the asset. And we can find, well, we could pick this one if you'd like, but I'm going to pick the regular animal pig like so. And in here, you can actually change some of the attributes. Now, 100 health might be a little too much, so I'm going to change this to 25. And the speed, I'm going to change this to, let's say 5, because pigs are pretty slow. Now, for the rest of this, we can kind of leave it, but for the inventory size, I'll put 1, just because the pig doesn't have an inventory anyways. But then we can scroll up to the important part, which is AI. Here, this pig is an AI, so we're going to hit true. Now, we can set some of these, and the ones that we want to set are the attack response to hostile unit. We're going to set flee because we want our pig to run away from us. For the idle behavior, we're going to have it to wander. And for these numbers, I'm going to keep the same, but you could change them. Now, for the sensor radius, I'm going to set to 150. And that's it. Now, I would encourage you to also take a look at some of the other tabs. Now, one of the fun parts is the effects. The effects are always really cool because we can actually set certain things. So there's an on attack section and on create. We can even run a certain script when I'm attacked, right? Now, obviously, you might not want to drop an item every time you're attacked. That wouldn't really make sense. But don't worry, we're going to do the death scripts, the death stuff in a different script later. But yeah, that's basically it. The camera you would probably want to ignore in an AI unit because they don't have their own camera. But yeah, you can take a look at the extra. This is more for streaming. But that's it. So let's hit save and close. And now we want to add our pig to the game. So how do we do that? Well, what we'll do is we could either, I'll kind of show you two ways. Either we can go to the map section and there's an entities tool where there's a pig section and we can add it this way. Now, that's not the best way to do it. So what we'll do instead is we're going to add this through our script. Whoops. So in here, we're going to add our pigs. Now, where do we want to do this? Well, what we can do is we can actually create a new script that will kind of do this for us. So we're going to add a new script and say spawn units. So this is going to spawn any unit that isn't our player. Because here we already have our player joins, player leaves, initialize, all that is for our player. So we don't need any of that. Now for the triggers, what we can do is we're going to do every second. Or every second right here. Now what we're going to do here is we're essentially going to do two things. First, we want to create a pig at a random position in our region, but we also want to limit the number of pigs to a certain number within our server or within our game. So what we can do is we can add a new action and we'll say create. And I want you to think, which one do we want here? Do we want to create an entity, create an item, create UI, or create a unit? Well, we have two options. Either we could create an entity or a unit. Now, in our case, because we've created a unit pig, we can create a unit here. So we can just create unit at position. This will be a little easier. Now here, we're going to create unit type, and this one's simple. We just pick the pig. Now, we're going to ignore this one for now. We're going to go to position, and in here, we're just going to search up random position in region. Now, we haven't done the regions yet. So what we can do in the region here, we can say entire map region. So we're just going to pick a random position within the entire map. That's essentially what it means. Now here for the facing number, we can just do 0. The facing number radians, like it's going to face a random direction. It doesn't really matter. You could pick a random direction, but in the end, the pig will pick a random direction and start wandering anyways. So for us, I'm just going to leave it at 0. All right. Now the last thing we want to look at is 4. Now here we have AI player 1, but that's not what we want. So what we're going to do is we're going to click OK for now, but we're going to close this. And well, I hit save, but we're going to go to the environments node here. Now here we have global variables. This is where I'm going to be able to keep track of certain things. And the advantage of this part that we're going to do next is I'm going to rename this to AI neutral, and I'm going to create a new one called AI hostile. Now here in our AI hostile, we can select player first, and then here we'll do the value for computer 1, hit save, and then neutral we'll do 2, and then there's one more that I want you to think about. Which one are we going to have? We have a hostile, we have a neutral, but there's one more that we want, and that will be resources. Now this one is essentially going to be for any resources that we make. So a tree, a rock, something like that. Here we can just select player, and then here we can select the AI computer 3. We'll hit save, and there we go. We now have 3 global variables that can do these things for us, or do things for us. All right, now what we'll do is we'll close this for now. We'll go to our script, go to our spawn unit, and now here we can simply select which one we want. Now, what is our pig? Is our pig a hostile? Is it a resource, or is it a neutral? Well, in our case, it would be a neutral because it's not a resource, it's not a tree, and it's also not a monster that's going to attack us. So we're going to do AI neutral. Now, you will see why we do this in kind of the next video when we add a monster or an enemy, but this is somewhat important that we do this. But you will see an explanation as to why we do this later. Okay, now there's a problem in our code. Every second, we're going to create a pig. We'll just say create a pig. Every second, we're going to create a pig. Now, does that sound right? Well, I mean, it could work, but we'd be creating infinite pigs. So we want to limit the number of pigs. And the way we do this is we create a while loop. And so inside of this while loop, we want to ask it something. We want to say, hey, if the number of pigs is below a certain number, only then will I create a pig. So how do we do that? Well, inside of our condition, we can simply do a number comparison. Here, we want this to be less than or less than equal. We can do less than equal. And then here on the 0, we're going to find the number of units. Number of units of unit type. This is the one we want. Here, of the unit type, we will simply select the pig. And there we go. That's how we get the number of pigs. Now, less than 0, that doesn't seem right, so we're going to do 5. Now we can hit OK, and now we can hit save and apply, and go to our initialize and see that AI1 is now like errored. So here what we'll do is pick AI neutral for our player, hit save and apply, and republish, and let's see what we get. All right, we now have our AI, and we can walk up to it and try to attack it, but it doesn't do anything. So what we need to do is we need to add interactions between our pigs. Now we can see it does actually kind of work. And I kind of lied to you guys. I think what I'm going to do is change my rendering to 2D. This looks a little wonky. All right, so I'm going to do that and then save and apply one more time. All right, once we're in our game might look a little cleaner, but we still can't attack our monsters or our pigs that we just created. Now, let's think about why. We want to debug this a little bit because this is kind of a problem that we have, but we don't know why. So, okay, let's think about how the process of debugging this would work. Let's think about, okay, I have a weapon, but it's not colliding. It's not really doing anything. Why is that? How can we figure this out? Well, the first thing we might want to look at is our sword. We have our sword and our pig. Those are the two things we would ideally look at. Inside of our sword, we can maybe take a look at the body types. In the selected, we can have a few options, but that doesn't look like anything we need. We can look at the dropped. This doesn't really look like anything we need either. So we're going to close all this, and we're going to go to our pig. Now in our pig, we also have a body type as default. Now in here, we have a few settings as well, but these all look right. The main part we want to actually look at is collides with. You can see that this will collide with other items. Okay, we have collision between our wooden sword and our pig, but maybe there's another problem. So maybe what we can do is we can go to our pig again, sorry. We'll open our AI, or effects actually, and we'll go to the on attacked. Okay, maybe we can change one of these so that we can see something happening between our sword and our pig. So let's pick our tween, And I want you to pick one first, and then I will pick one. Okay, I'm going to pick the recoil tween and hit save and apply. I'm going to close this once it's done saving. I'll just save and apply there. And let's try playing. And there we go. We have attacking on our pig. Awesome. Now you can see that it doesn't die at all, even though it might actually be doing damage. So our sword should be doing 10 damage, but it doesn't kill the pig. All right. Now in the next video, we'll be taking a look at how to add health, how to display the health, and then eventually how to kill it. So stay tuned for that, and I'll see you guys in the next video.